Hey guys, Nick here with another episode of 5 Minutes of Couples Therapy. So over the last few weeks we've been talking about the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Those are the things that the Gottman Institute found in their research. Things that, happy couples hardly ever do, distressed couples do all the time, right? So we've talked about criticism. We've talked about content. Today, we're going to talk about stonewalling. So what's stonewalling? Stonewalling is shutting down. So you're in a conflict conversation, you guys are kind of going at it, and one partner just, stops communicating altogether. Maybe they pick up their phone, start doom scrolling on Facebook, doing stuff like that. That's stonewalling, just refusing to communicate anymore. So interesting thing about stonewalling is that men do it way more often than women. In the Gottman Institute's Love Lab, they found that over 85% of stonewallers are men. And they found that when women do it, it's actually highly predictive of divorce. Men are a lot more likely to kind of ruminate on thinking that maintains distress. So that's one reason that guys stonewall, is because it's kind of easier for them to get physiologically flooded. So stonewalling is usually the result of being overwhelmed by the other horsemen, right? So criticism, contempt, defensiveness. When those are just kind of coming at us all at the same time, we get overwhelmed and we stonewall. And so what happens when we stonewall is the result of physiological flooding. So this isn't an emotional state. This is actually a physical thing that happens in your body. So some people describe it as survival mode, right? So your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain where all of your higher level functioning lives, where your communication skills are, your ability to problem solve, that part of your brain almost like shuts off. And your brain's limbic system, the part of your brain that controls your breathing and your heart rate and things like that are designed to keep you alive, also where your fight, flight, or freeze response lives, that gets highly activated. And so that's how we actually, believe it or not, how we want our brains to function, right? Because if we're getting charged by a grizzly bear, we don't want to be like looking at how pretty its fur is and, being in awe of just how beautiful this great, majestic creature is. We want to be thinking about how the heck do I get out of this situation, right? And so that's kind of why that thinking part of our brain turns off. Fight, flight, or freeze kicks into high gear. Really helpful if you're getting chased by a grizzly bear. Not helpful if you're having a conflict conversation with your spouse. So when we are physiologically flooded, our vision is impacted. It makes it so that our hearing is even impacted, and it's hard for us to shift out of defensiveness, right? Because we're in survival mode. We should be very defensive in survival mode. We also have reduced empathy. We have a reduced ability to problem solve, and it's just not where we want to be when we're communicating with the person we love. So what do we do about it, right? What do we do to kind of shift out of this survival mode? The immediate thing, if you notice you or your partner kind of in this mode, is to take a break. There's no healthy communication that's going to come from a space where you're physiologically flooded. So take a break. Don't just walk away. Right? So if you guys are in a heated conflict and you just walk away without saying anything, that can produce more conflict, and that's obviously not the goal. So say something. I need a break. A lot of couples will have a signal word that's kind of cute or something, and sometimes that just saying the word de-escalates the conflict. So I have a couple that says cantaloupe. When one of them gets flooded, they'll say cantaloupe, they'll kind of laugh, and they'll go take a break. And then they come back together and can have a productive conversation. It's important when you take this break not to go retreat to your corner and plan your counterattack. Okay? That's just going to keep you flooded. If you do anything related to the conflict, you're going to stay flooded. So we want to do something completely unrelated to the conflict during this break. And by the way, the break should be at least 20 minutes. So what I recommend is practicing physiological self-soothing. So some of the ways that you can do that is with imagery. So you could imagine, like being on a beach, maybe some place where you were really comfortable and happy as a child, things like that. Breath work is really excellent for kind of reducing physiological self-flooding. So I teach people the square breathing method, and so what that is you breathe in for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, breathe out for 5 seconds, hold it for 5 seconds, and just keep doing that. And 5 to 10 cycles of that, and you'll be back into a state where you can communicate effectively. Another, good one is just going for a walk. When I get flooded, I'll often take my dog just for a little walk around our farm and, try not to think about the conflict. And then after about 20 minutes of that, I can re-engage. You can read a book, you can listen to music. Another good one is go on YouTube and find a mindfulness meditation, pop in your earbuds, and just sit there with your eyes closed doing a mindfulness meditation. So kind of long-term, what we want to do to avoid this is to really focus on that 5-to-1 ratio I've talked about. So inside of a conflict conversation, we want to have 5 positive statements for every negative or critical statement that we have. Okay, so that can get pretty tricky in a conflict conversation, but if you really focus on it, there's always something good you can say about your partner, right? Like you chose to team up with them and to spend your life with them. So, finding 5 nice things to say shouldn't be super difficult. And if it is, I think I have an opening next week. Just kidding. Thanks, you guys. Thanks for spending another few minutes with me this week. I hope it was helpful, and I will see you guys next week.